Shalom, Israel. This is the I.S.U.P.K. out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. This is often the shock my thigh, about to start our Tuesday evening class. I want to dive in to the to this man. I ain't gonna lie, on this class, man, you're gonna get pretty damn mad. You're gonna get pissed off. If you care about your people, if you care about what we've been through, which if you're a true man or woman of the Lord, especially in the nation, in the UPK, you're going to understand how serious it was and the things that our people have been through. It's pretty, what we're going to get into is pretty raw, man. It's very serious. And what I mean by that is the fact that this war of experimentation that has always been done on our people has been done in a way that we were almost, in a lot of these experiments, we were the white mouse that scientists use. They use white mice in mice in order to if they want to find out a new advancement on losing weight, they use mice to experiment on. If they want to use any kind of the effects of some kind of certain disease, they'll use animals. The white man has done this for centuries with us. And what we're going to dive into today is the depths of what he went through, just not only like not even seeing us as we were human. I mean, according to their constitution, one thing the white man cannot deny to this day is how he sees the black man as 3/5 of a man. That's in his law. No matter what he says, nothing. It's never been ratified or done away with. That's in his law. He never got rid of that. Even slavery is not over, according to what I think is the 13th Amendment. It's just now they got you. They get you under the vice of incarceration. So when you're incarcerated, then they can use that as slavery. That's your slavery. It never went nowhere. It was just changed. So what we're gonna get into, man, especially if you're a sister. If you're a sister, and I even had to do some research, of course, for our brothers to understand how serious this was. But if you're a sister, especially, this is gonna really touch you. You know what I'm saying? It's probably gonna hit a nerve. You know what I mean? Captain Mashak, my young man, did an awesome, class on a man named J. Marion Sims, which we're going to touch on for a moment. You know, not really going to be our focus, just part of what we're going to be talking about. But man, if you're ever curious further about who J. Marion Sims is, which we're going to cover a little bit. But like I said, Captain Mashak Mayim did an awesome class on it, man. I use it myself as a reference. And man, he dives in deep to what this man, the cruelty that he did to our black sisters, man, during slavery times. And he's now known as the father of gynecology. And of course, sisters know what that means. Some brothers might not, understand the totality of what that is. But when you're dealing with gynecology, man, you're dealing with, the female reproductive system, in her internal organs right there and how they work and what's wrong, stuff like that. But what we're going to touch in on is the abuse and the, torture our sisters had to go through, man. It's serious, bro. It's like some stuff that you would see on the sci-fi flick that you wouldn't even think was real. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna touch on that. Of course, we're gonna always hit these scriptures to break down. We have to use the scriptures to break down and explain um, why these things happening and how it was foretold that it was going to happen. The white man is explaining this Bible. The 12 tribes of Israel is explaining this Bible. Heathens are explaining this Bible. The past on up to the future is explained in this Bible. That's why a lot of times you hear like Commander General YAHANNA or other generals like General Muhammad and other generals and captains and officers refer to this Bible as records. You always hear them say records. It's referred to as records for a reason, because it's your history. Every book that you didn't see that was being used in the different schools that you went to when you was a kid or coming up in high school and whatnot, man, them books was full of lies. And anytime you look at them books, they always start, your history always starts with slavery. They never go anywhere past that. They basically indoctrinate in your mind that you came from slavery, and from slavery you went to the civil rights. Civil rights, you got your equal rights, as they say. Your black leaders is like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all these fake ass black leaders and politicians and whatnot. So then you're told that that's your background. That's where you come from. So then people wonder why people are so confused and don't even know who they are. Even when we at camp, when we on the street, or when we just talking at an event or anything, when you first ask one of your brothers or sisters what your nationality is, we already know. We just trying to get I always use a pulse. We always trying to get a pulse of our people for where they head at, like how they think. Like, do they understand even who they are? That's why a lot of times we ask them, like, what's your nationality? And they say American, or they say Afro-American, or they say African-American. They say black. All these words are bywords. Even if you pay attention to the word black, it's a color. Man, that ain't your nationality. Who else uses a color as their nationality? Nobody. Who else uses two? Look, man, one thing we have to understand, when you talk to your people, you trying to help them understand who they are. I always refer to the fact that African American comes from Africanus Leo Scipius, a white general that had a lot to do with conquering Africa. Amerigos Vespucci was a map maker, another white man. And no man of Israel ever came up with that term. That term has always, like, our description of who we are, our nationality has always came from somebody else. Even when our black leaders like Jesse Jackson came with that Afro-American crap, why ain't they ever use braided American? Why ain't they ever use the what's what's the sister's hairstyles, man? Even I'm going off, but a dreaded American. It is stupid. You're being your nationality is being made by somebody else, like a black leader that don't give a damn about you, or it's being made by a heathen that is like, this is what you are when I see you. You always got an afro, so I'm gonna call you Afro American. Ain't got nothing to do with who you are, man. That's why our job is so important in what we doing. So, and I don't mean to digress, but I just felt like that was really important. And we need to understand, we need to describe and really break down who we are to our people. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're a woman, you tell other women and children, man, who they truly are. If you're a man, you tell that man, that woman, those children who you truly are. It's very important. And you break it down all the way to where The white man can't use them words no more. Like they hold no weight. You understand what I'm saying? So we gonna go to what's going on there? Oh, no sweat. No sweat. Appreciate it. I turned that volume down. I just want to start the class up. It's usually like 5:15, but I went ahead, you know what I mean? It started. I just go ahead and go. No, you cool, man. You cool. So just saying that, we gonna go ahead and jump into Shalom, Mark. Let's see you here. We finna jump into the theme here, the class, the title. And first I want to start with Nahum, I think was it 3, 4 through 6. And it's just to get let's get a real good foundational basis of what we talking about. All right. So there's Nahum 3, 4 through 6. All right. Give you a little time. Okay, Nahum 3, 4 through 6. And it says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and families through her witchcrafts. Now we're talking about America right now. America sells herself for everything. We say America, we're talking about the white society don't care about homosexuality, pedophilia, racism. They don't care about greed, classes. They don't care nothing about that. It's all about money. It's about money, and it's about being a racist. And you have to understand when people get real emotional with racism, you know what I'm saying? We understand what racism is. Racism is basically, man, you have more power than another nationality. That's what racism is. You have the power to control some kind of resource and cut it off from another nation. That's what racism is. People want to get real emotional about it and like say different situations like, oh, that's racist. You know what I'm saying? Being racist is being racist. It's like if you cutting this off from this group of people because of that, because that's that group of people, that's racism. It's cut and dry. You know what I'm saying? People want to call us racist. We don't give a damn. We've been in a society, we've been oppressed. We was shipped here to be oppressed. In the minute we start looking, and let me tell you something, man. Asians look out for each other. They hire their own. They have their own parts of some city that they'll call Little China or Little Tokyo or Chinatown, whatever. Africans do it. The white man damn sure does it. I mean, you name it. People from Turkey or Middle Eastern people, you name it, Muslims, they do it. But the minute a man or woman from the 12 tribes of Israel cares about his people, tells the truth of what they're going through, and says we need to separate ourselves, we're called racist. And the way they say racist is not the same. It's almost like we need to stop. We need to come together, brother. I heard that so much this past Saturday at camp. I was like, shut the hell up. You saying come together, and everybody that you around is white. So how should we be coming together? We shouldn't come together. It ain't because of what you saying, white man, Asian man. It's because blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians are the true 12 tribes of Israel. And we need to stay together because that's what the Lord said. We're not supposed to be mixing with the heat. It ain't about what we feel and what we think we should do. It's about the commandments that we should follow, the laws that we should follow. So let's get back to the scripture. We left off at 4, right? Yeah. And that selleth, and this is Nahum 3, verse 4. That selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. Verse 5. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts. I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. What is this part talking about? This verse, man, this verse in what's that, verse 5. Verse 5 is heavy, man, because it's basically the Lord is telling you that, look here, white society, white supremacy, America, I'm going to expose you for the lies that you have told all these years, these decades, these centuries. That's why the Bible tells us, do not abhor the Edomite, the Egyptian, meaning that you're not supposed to be out there going out there killing them or beating their ass. Always defend yourself. Number one, defend yourself. But you ain't supposed to be out there hunting them and stuff. We ain't hunters yet. The scriptures say we fishermen right now. That time will come. That's when Yahweh will lead us to that. But this scripture is talking about, it's going to expose America for what it's doing. What you think we doing right now? Why you think the white man gets so mad when we in camp and we in them streets and we exposing the truth and the lies and all the just all the falsehoods that he's always told? I mean, down to what we talked about at the beginning of class with black, Afro-American, African-American, all those bywords. Even with that, he gets mad because we out there spitting truth. And what really he's mad about? Our brothers and sisters in those little pockets, on those different streets, on those little alleyways, while our brothers and sisters are taking a break, while they going outside to have a smoke break, they listening. Our words is hitting the wind. And it's hitting their ears. Whoever has an ear, let them hear. They scared of it. They're really scared when they start crowding around and really listening, and then they want to ask a question or they go to the table. That's when you'll really see them demons come out. That's when you'll really see them starting to balance and throw tantrums. You'll really understand the fact that the truth that we always bring out is very powerful. All right. So let's keep reading. Verse 6. And I will cast. So I want verse 6. Yeah, let's get verse 6. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. Man, we are exposing this white man, and our people are going to wake up and see how sickening and sadistic and how much of a liar he really is. We're about to dive in it right now. Trust me. When we start getting into the suffering our people had to do under this white man, especially during slavery times, and the only difference between the slavery times of that time and now is just that at that time they couldn't say anything. There was no camera. There's not necessarily a physical slavery. It's more mental now, but it's so mental that it gets physical. They actually have a lot of our people thinking it's okay for the police to kill us on the street. He might have had a gun. It's the first thing they say. Every time, like that young man that got killed, I think it was in Pittsburgh. It was a young man got killed, man. He got gunned down in the back. I think he caught 3 of them. And the first thing they try to say is he had a gun in the car. For one, we don't even know if he had that gun. We don't know if that cop planted that gun. And now we know they planted. We've been knowing they planting guns. We've been saying that, but it had to take to the point where a camera had to record police. I think it was in Baltimore that this was happening. So now it's real. But they're not going to take your word for it, Israel. Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian, and woman. Why? Because of who you are. And who are you? You are black, you are African American, you're an Afro American, you're nothing, you're filth, you're the dumb. I'm not making this up. This is white society has taught us for years, or tried to and try to embed it into our brain. And you can even look at people like Margaret Sanger that came up with things like we're gonna touch on that too about the what's it called, the Negro Project, where it was specifically targeting um, blacks in the South. They would even use pastors to make to convince and basically manipulate women to get sterile or to get birth control. Why? Because they do not look at you like you human. We about to find this out right now. All right. Uh, First, I want to touch on again. This is medical apartheid. America's like most brutal thing they've ever done to me. Uh, Now I can't even say that because they've done so much, but we're diving into the father of gynecology. Okay, we're gonna hit him first, and the source that you can look at. There's many ways you can look at books now, man. You can get the digital books on websites. On just sometimes you type it in, and then they'll have a PDF file, and you can download that. You know what I'm saying? And you can put it in your phone. You get bored or something, man. Or when you ain't bored, you really need to be reading all the damn time. For some reason, black folks act like that, like it hurts to read. Man, read. That's why they got books so daggone high, because they actually think that we don't read. Man, we read, bruh. We read. In the UPK, we read, man. If you don't believe me, in any camp video, what does the speaker say? Read. We read. Plain and simple. All right. So all my brothers and sisters out there, man, y'all read more, man. Get into these books. For real. It don't hurt. All it do is you get a little wrinkle in your brain, man. You get smart. All right. So, all right, let's get to it though. J. Marion Sims, the father of gynecology, he came out with a book, right, called Story of My Life. He wrote this book, okay? And there's a statue of him in Slovakia, Central Park, okay? Central Park, you have to remember, man, that's the crazy part about, man, all this stuff just links up, right? So like he has a statue in Central Park. And guess what used to be in Central Park? If you haven't seen the class, man, we got a class on our Facebook. I think this Facebook page that we have, man, check it out, man. It's talking about how I think Seneca Village, that's what it's called. How it came about. Man, check that class out, man. It's real heavy. It lets you know that before Central Park was there, it was a place called Seneca Village where all of our people, like our blacks, kind of established it, and like they were kind of like a middle class, and they was doing well. How did they get rid of it? They started sending an Irish influx of Irish people into their neighborhood. They started actually spying on how well the blacks were doing in Seneca Village, and then all of a sudden they was like, "You gotta go. We gotta use this land for something else." I forget the word. It's a word that they use when they I think it's eminent domain or something like that. They just take power of the land. They can do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? They might even give you a little money or something, but they'll take it and do what they want to do. But that's what Central Park used to be, Seneca Village, which was a community for black people. And this fool right here got a statue in it. His name is J. Marion Sims. All right. Okay, now in this book, right, I found this quote where it said, it describes what he used to do. Okay, of course, he owned slaves. This was in, I got it here. I think it was around 1846, if I'm mistaken. He had a small shack in the back of his house, right? Okay. And in the back of his home, which he called a medical suite. So now we know he's doing medical operations in the back of this suite, okay? Because remember, he's supposed to be the father of gynecology, all right? And you got to think, if he has a medical suite in the back of his home, who is he experimenting on? At the beginning of this class, I said that the white man has always looked at us like we animals, especially in America. They when they want to do testing, they use white mice, right? They want to see the effects of diabetes. They want to see the effects of AIDS. They want to see the effects of different diseases, weight loss, aging, you name it. They use these white mice, right? Guess who the white mice was? That's right. Was it Katrina, right? Us. We were the white mice. I'm about to show you right now how Mr. Father of Gynecology to this day, you can, and after this class, man, and while we're doing this class, I'm gonna ask you to look some stuff up. Man, write this stuff down, man. Look, all my brothers be doing these classes, right? It ain't just for you to sit back and be entertained. Man, we take a lot of time and effort, and we love our people. But all that time and effort that we do to bring this knowledge out and dig this information up, because these are real classes. Y'all make sure y'all taking notes. Look the stuff up that we tell you look up so you can see it for yourself. It's very important. Now, what we're gonna see is that, okay, yeah, now let's picture this again. This is J. Marion Sims, father of gynecology. He owns this plantation, or he owns slaves. So now he has this little shack in the back of his house. This is his book, Story of My Life by J. Marion Sims. He has a small shack in the back of his home, which he called a medical suite, but was nothing but a experimental butchering laboratory. That's what this was. But he would get ideas to experiment on his female slaves in the middle of the night. Here's some more to that. Like I said, you're going to get pissed off, especially if you, man, I don't care if you're a female or a man or a woman. This is going to make you mad because you're going to understand this is your people, man. If you really give a damn about your people, you finna get mad as hell in this class. You're supposed to. I'm trying to make you mad. There's a time to be angry, man. There's a time for love. There's a time for hate. This is one of the times you're supposed to be hating this, bro. This is real, and this really happened. And you should appreciate everything that our brothers and sisters went through in their time, because they used us to get what they needed. They used us for them to understand what they could do to help their own. And they discarded, they didn't give a damn about, these were just bodies to them. You gotta understand, to us, when we see something happen to our people, it hurts. To them, they don't care. It's just like somebody threw out the trash. So man, you kind of like, man, appreciate what your brothers and sisters went through. What they did, man, should not be in vain. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be over nothing. So he would get ideas to experiment on his female slaves in the middle of the night. Marion Sims' reason for not using anesthesia, if I'm saying it right. Yeah, anesthesia. Anesthesia is just when you basically get, it's a painkiller. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like you go to the dentist, they put some laughing gas on you, or they put you to sleep. You got an injury, you got an operation, you go to the hospital, they put you under, okay, that's anesthesia. So what? So you don't feel the pain. Let's read this again. Marion Sims' reason for not using anesthesia was that the black races feel no pain nor anxiety. So let me break that down. This man has a shack. He's called the father of gynecology. So he's taking his female slaves in this shack that he calls a medical suite. He's taking these female slaves in these shacks in the middle of the night. And believe me, he has men with him. And he's holding these slaves down. And he's doing all kinds of experiments on them. He is cranking their legs open. They're fighting. It's going to be blood everywhere. It's going to be, this woman she's probably, and look, I'm not saying this to be sick. I'm saying this to be real. The truth hurts sometimes. But you got to understand, you got to see it. You really got to you got to picture it in your mind. This woman is going through so much pain, man. It's blood everywhere. She's peeing on herself. No telling what else. She's screaming. And all he's doing is cutting her open, man. Her female parts. He's going in there, cutting things, pulling things out. Probably doing a what they call it, a biopsy on it. Cutting it open, dissecting it. Healing her womb up, or just not even healing it, just sealing it up. She's sore. So then she just goes, they just send her back to where her shack is. And they gonna pull her back in there the next day. And this went on for hundreds and hundreds of years. This is the sickening, this is the sick, vile, sadistic being, the most subtle beast on the field that sees you every day. This is his offspring is walking with you right now. This is who they praise as the father of gynecology. Let's keep reading about this sick dude, man. And this happened in 1846. This is his quote, the American dark races bear with indifferences to tortures insupportable to a white man. This was from a book from, no, that was from the same book. Now I'm gonna read that again, man. I'm gonna say it again. The American dark races bear with indifferences, tortures, unsupportable to a white man. What does this mean? What this means is these dark races, they don't feel nothing. They don't feel this pain like they say. It don't hurt them that bad. It really doesn't. You know, it's like an animal. You don't really hear an animal cry out that much. It don't hurt that bad. But as far as a white man, yeah, it's unsupportable. Like you can't do that to a white person. They'll feel all that. This is his quote. This is what he's saying. This is the father of gynecology. Like I said, man, Captain Mashak Mayum did an awesome class just directly focusing on this. Man, make sure you find that class. Dig in that. I'll try to somehow send a link out, maybe off my Facebook page and let you know what it is. But he did an awesome class on this. But we're just scratching the surface on what this man did. This dude was sick. He talks about how he would get young girls. I'm talking about 16, 17 years old, man. He would like literally make all these cuts and stuff and not use any anesthesia. And then he would just sew it up and then they would leave and then he would keep doing this over and over again until he perfected it. A lot of with our sisters, a lot of the instruments that you see gynecologists use, that's what he used. That's what he used. They just upgraded it. And you got to think there was no kind of painkiller with that. That's what our sisters had to go through. There's a book also from 1851, right? The Natural History of Human Species. Okay, this is more of a this is another this is basically a company that creates textbooks for doctors. So in 1851, it had this textbook called the Natural History of the Human Species. And in it, it talks about how it was talk. Well, I'll just read about it. Let me get into it. In Pearson Education, apologized for having a racial teaching in their textbooks, claiming blacks often report that. Hold on a second. Blacks often report the pain intensity than other cultures. Native Americans, this is they quotes. I'm not making this up. This is what they say. Again, I get these resources from books, and this was actually an article. No, it was from a book that they had put out called "The Natural History of Human Species." It said blacks often report pain intensity. They reported more than other cultures, meaning that we complain about pain more than any other culture. All right. Then it said Native Americans, they usually tolerate a high level of pain without requesting pain medication. And they had to come out with an apology because they had this in their textbooks since 1851. And this is recent, like maybe in the early 2000s. They just now came out with a apology for that. This is who we're talking about. This is how they look at you. Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian, and woman. This is how they look at us. All right. Let's look at like you got a lot of blackity black, pro black type. Yeah, that's right, sis. Since 1851. You got a whole bunch of blackity black, pro black, black power type cats, right? And all that black power stuff. Usually they got a black power hand with a joint in it. You know what I'm saying? Don't get confused by what Black Panthers was doing. They meant well, but they weren't going by the laws. That's why they went to shambles. That's why the UPK will never go nowhere. We go by the laws, man. Commander General YAHANNA held on to that, man. He held on to the truth. And look at all the brothers and sisters that were taught from him. Look how we growing. That let you know, man, the Lord is with us. You know what I'm saying? So, why I say that blackity black stuff, we're gonna cut anything that they be saying. Cause see, they love cats like Marcus Garvey, MLK, W.E. Du Bois, you name it. Now, I pulled some up on W.E. Du Bois. And I love when you do research, pull up things off of quotes that they say. Because now you put them in a box and they can't get out of it. Because this is what you said, brother. So let's check this out. W.E. Du Bois, out of an article called Birth Control Review, the mass of ignorant Negroes. This is W.E. Du Bois now. Quote, the mass of ignorant Negroes still carelessly and disastrously breed. This article was part of Margaret Sanger's Negro Project. He had an article put out called the Birth Control Review. And this came out almost supporting what Margaret Sanger did with this Negro Project. And with the Negro Project, if you ever you're going to look it up. Look it up. Like I said before, everything we be teaching, look this stuff up. Check it out. With this Negro Project, right? When you look it up, you'll see that Margaret Sanger was pushing it. And how did she do it? Down south, she would get black preachers. And she would get them, just like during slavery times, they would get black preachers to teach Christianity. So when they when they send there spitting that Christianity to you, and it's coming from one of your so-called brothers, you're more able to understand it, I guess, or you're more allured to it. You know, they can get you to roll with it better. if it came from your slave master and he beating your ass every day. So then he gets the Uncle Tom type cat to sit there and start preaching you Christianity. So then now you follow suit. And all the white man is doing is telling that black man how to manipulate and confuse and destroy his own people. All right. So with this, again, it's an article called Birth Control Review. And with this birth control review, which was written by W.E. Du Bois, he says the mass of ignorant Negroes still carelessly and disastrously breed. He didn't even say have babies. He didn't even say produce or have children. He said breed, as if you what? A white mice, a white mouse, like you're an animal. You know, he believed in that integration. He believed in that. All right, let's go to and also let's see. Also, now I'll tell you what. We're gonna go. I don't want to go there yet. We're gonna go to and of course we touched on the J. Marion Sims, Mr. Father of Gynecology. I just want to touch on a couple of things about him. Now we're gonna touch on the Tuskegee experiment. When you ask somebody what is the Tuskegee experiment, you'll always hear kind of bits and pieces about what it is. I think there's a large amount of our nation, our people, that don't really understand what the Tuskegee experiment really is. The Tuskegee experiment was horrible, man. It was horrible. And just like how J. Marion Sims experimented on our sisters, and let me make this clear with what J. Marion Sims did. When he did that, remember that he did that for the reason of his race. The females in his nation. So they could figure out how to take care of their females, but they use ours. They use ours to cut and bleed and make her urinate and defecate on herself. And to do it over and over and over again. And her mother went through it. Her grandmother went through it. Her great-grandmother went through it. No telling what else they were doing, man. And they did all of that. Those sisters went through all of that for these white women, for these Asian women, for all these East Indian women, all these Edomite women, all these women from other nations so they could benefit. Basically, all these women on this earth that have a gynecologist or go to get pap smears and all that, they owe you, black woman. They owe you a huge thanks. They should bow down and kiss your feet. Because all the hell that our ancestors went through for that. And then people got the nerve to sit there and look at us crazy when we get our boots kissed by these people. That's the least that they could do. Nobody brings this up. But let's keep going. Again, we're going to talk about the Tuskegee experiment. Now we're going to look at a couple of things that brothers had to go through. Okay? And again, sisters also went through this, but at the beginning of this experiment, it was about brothers. Okay? So the Tuskegee experiment in 1932 was it was at a historically black college was chosen, right? This is where the experiments were conducted at. It was chosen to conduct an experiment to gain information and protection for the public, white society. 400 were given syphilis, 200 without. So This Tuskegee experiment, you gotta understand, our people ain't know what syphilis was. You know what syphilis is now. Why? Because of the effects that people have went through from it. Because what you've seen, what you heard, you know, there's documentation on it now. So you know syphilis is very bad. You know, it's a very deteriorating disease. You know what I'm saying? So let's read that again. 400, it was at Tuskegee, the college. It was where the experiment was conducted. That's why they call it Tuskegee experiment. And then 400 brothers was given syphilis. They probably didn't even know what it was. They were told that they would be cured from it. We're going to get deeper into that. 200 were without. Okay, so you got 400 brothers that was given syphilis. Then you got 200 brothers that was just, it was not given it. They were not given syphilis, but they was just used as a comparison. Okay, and they exposed them to temporary cures. Okay, now this is where I want you to do a little homework. All right, they use mercury, bismuth, neoasphamin, arsenophamin, neoasphamin. They use these chemicals. Mercury is what they use in your air conditioning. I don't know if it's still in there, but it used to be older air conditioners used to have this little bit of mercury, and it used to be in a tube. Every time that mercury moves back and forth, your air will come on. So you hit that switch, the tube would move, and then a little bit of mercury would go to the side, and your whole air conditioner will come on. When you turn it off, the mercury will go to the other side, and the mercury will go to the other side, and your air conditioner will go off. Mercury is very toxic, is what I'm saying. What I want you to look up after this class, what I want you to look up after this class is I want you to look it up just like this. Okay, this is how I looked it up. Look up the what is that? Look up the danger of mercury, the danger of bismuth, BISMUTH. Look up the danger of neoasphamin. That's NEOARSPHENIAMINE. Look, when you look those up, look up the danger of. These are the chemicals that they was putting in these brothers in the Tuskegee experiment and saying they were temporary cures. They were experimenting and seeing how much their bodies could take. Not just with the syphilis alone. They was trying to push their bodies, their chemical makeup, to see how much they could take. This is a sick beast you dealing with. You can't be surprised when they out here trying to kill us. That's their mentality. They are the true animal. They put a very, as slick as the trick of the Jewish man has put on the earth to make us, to not make us like it, but when I say us, I mean our people, to make our people think that they are the Jew, they are the true Jew. That's how slick they have made it seem that we are evil and violent and animals. They are the true animal. But you won't know that until we start digging this stuff up. Start going in history. Let's keep going. There was money set aside for cures, but disappeared during the Great Depression. So you got to think around 1929, the Great Depression hit. Now, true enough, they started doing the experiment in 1932, but they used that as an excuse. So you had money to do the experiment, but you ain't have money to get all the cures. Yeah, that's right. Sis, who was that? Rebecca, Israel, yeah. Yeah, put them together, neo arch phenomenon, and look that up. Even if you got it wrong, it'll autocorrect. It'll pull it up for you. But yeah, they used the Great Depression as a reason for not giving them more cures. All right. So as we keep reading, there were steps taken to recover them from the crash, meaning the crash of the Great Depression. But white doctors felt it was necessary to let the patients of the experiments go untreated. So now at first they was told that these experiments would have temporary cures and then we'll give you a cure. So don't worry about it. They don't even know what syphilis is. They probably tell them it's kind of like the flu. It's like a little cold. Syphilis is it'll destroy you. It'll kill you slow. And just the physical parts of it, man, you get lumps on your face, all on your head, your arms, everywhere, man. It's horrible. It's kind of like that disease. I think it's called shingles, man. It's very devastating. You know what I'm saying? It's not no. It ain't no damn flu. It ain't no damn. It's nothing like that. It's horrible. So they were told they was gonna be giving cures. They weren't giving cures. They used the Great Depression to use it to say like, well, we don't have the money right now, but we'll get you cures. Then white doctors claimed that uh, it wasn't necessary for the patients to have these cures. So through these experiments, they went untreated. So just like our sisters had to go through all that pain with no anesthesia, with J. Marion Sims committing all those just basically butchering of their bodies, it's the same thing they did to our brothers, not giving them cures. So you gotta imagine if you ain't giving no cure and you've been given a disease, man, it's horrible. You feel like it's like having the flu and you're not giving any antibiotics, or the doctor's not giving you any kind of medicine. You have a cold and you can't take no Tylenol. Your head banging, you gotta take it. You sore in the bed, you gotta take it. Let's keep going, man. Um, in order to see the reaction of the disease, man, they did that. They gave them no cures just to see the reaction of the disease, just to see how bad it will get. Let's keep going. Most of the subjects for the experiments were black sharecroppers. They were told they would be paid for their participation and were told in order to be cured, you had to have spinal taps. Now, I want to see who's listening. Does anybody out there know what spinal taps is? If you do, put it in the chat. If you're on YouTube, I'm sorry, I don't know how to put it up. So just sit back and chill. But if you on if you on Facebook, put it in the chat what spinal taps are. So remember, where we're at now is they've introduced this experiment, this Tuskegee experiment they want to do in 1932. During I think it was the Depression was during 1929. They used that as an excuse not to cure these brothers, because at first they had temporary cures. At the same time, they're using toxic chemicals to put in their bodies to see how they react. At the same time, they say, hey, we don't have any cures, so we're going to keep going with the experiment. But, and I'm sure they're not telling, you got to understand the situation. They're not telling the brothers this. They're not saying we don't have any cures to them. They saying that to the people that are doing the experiments on them, because the brothers would have bounced. They need them there. So the people that are working on them, they're doing the experience, they're being told, man, we don't have no cures. Don't worry about it. Let's see the reaction of the disease. That was the whole point in the first place. That's the whole point. That's why it's called an experiment. So now we went from that to now we're going to spinal taps. See if anybody got a spinal tap. Stick a needle between the spaces of the spine. That's true. Now, a spinal tap is, man, they take a needle and they stick it in between your spines. Like you got a vertebrae, right? You got your spine, you got the vertebrae. You got pockets in between your vertebrae. There's fluid that runs in that vertebrae. That fluid is the same fluid that's in your brain. Like I think it's called embryonic fluid. It's the same type fluid. So they take this needle and they withdraw that fluid, and it gives them a very good. It gives them kind of like a description of what's going on in your mind, in your brain, not like inside your mind, but what's going, because that embryonic fluid is what is. There's fluid under your brain. I don't know if you knew it, but there's fluid up under your brain, and it kind of keeps your brain floating. You know what I'm saying? Your brain just ain't sitting on your skull like that. It's floating in this fluid, and that fluid it kind of give kind of like a not a history but a diagnosis of what your body's going through as far as the nervous system and different stuff like that. So yeah, lumbar puncture. That's also called that. Um, so they did this to these brothers. Let's see why. In order to receive $1,000, they had to undergo an autopsy after their death. Again, with the spinal tap, they trying to get a diagnosis of what's going on. So then they say, in order to receive $1,000, so that means that they've been promised $1,000 if they die. In order to receive $1,000, they had to undergo an autopsy after their death. So they've been told, look, man, we're gonna take care of your burial. We're gonna give your family $1,000, but you have to agree to let us do an autopsy. So they're going doing these spinal taps. And when they do these spinal taps, they're starting to recognize how their body is deteriorating and they're about to die. So of course, when they die, they want to do an autopsy. They want to see exactly what syphilis did to these brothers. So they want to crack their heads open and open their skull and look in their brain. Again, the white mouse is how they look at us. Now, also with a paid burial, like we said. In 1947, they stopped using penicillin. They just all that like everything that is naturally used in the medicinal world, everything that you use to heal your to be healed, stop causing infection, to slow down the progress of a disease, to cure the disease, they stopped. You have to understand these brothers is going through a world of pain. And they're going back home. And they have to come back. Then they're going home and coming back. Or they're being held. And they go home a little while and then they gotta come back. This is hell, man. Literal hell, man. This is the condition the white man put these brothers under and promised them lies. Man, let me see here. Let me get I'm gonna read John 8 and 44 real quick. Because let's see what the Bible says about this life. John 8 and 44. Ye are of your father, the devil. We know a devil is a deceiver. These are Christ's words. These are in red. And the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer. What is he doing? What is he doing to these brothers and these sisters? He's butchering them and he's killing. And abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. All through what we've been reading about this Tuskegee experiment has been lies. He never told our brothers the truth, man. The whole point of what he's doing is a hidden agenda. Everything the white man does is a hidden agenda. Even with what we discovered with J. Marion Sims, he wasn't just butchering them for no reason. He was butchering them for his people. So he could be called the father of gynecology. So his women wouldn't have to suffer. Well, who paid the cost of that? Our women did. When he when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. I wanted to pull that scripture, man, because you always refer to the scriptures, because they'll sit there and prove what you're talking about. That's how you cut people just from the jump. They can sit there, scream, talk, say how they feel, get emotional. It don't matter. When you bring these scriptures out, this history really backs up the scriptures. The scriptures tell you what we dealing with. And we just showing you in history what we've been dealing with. All right. So let's keep going with this syphilis thing. All right. In 1947, they stopped using penicillin. The Center of Disease Control was accused of racial cleansing. So somebody got mad and started reporting them for what they were doing. You gotta remember, it was 400 brothers going through this. And then 200 brothers that was just being used to compare. But they seeing what the other brothers are going through. So you think this didn't get out? You think this was just quiet in the Tuskegee area? No, man. This was getting out. This disease is horrible. You can even look up the Tuskegee experiment. Look it up on YouTube or go online and look at the effects of what these men look like. Then what I'm saying will hit you even harder. You'll really see what they went through. The Center of Disease Control was accused of racial cleansing, medical apartheid. Now, of course, we have medical apartheid as part of the title, right? Can anybody tell me what apartheid means? I'm gonna keep reading and I'm gonna see if anybody can find out what apartheid means. Okay. Let's see. Medical apartheid in Nazi practices. That's funny they say in Nazi practices because the actual practice of Nazis and stuff, they got their game from Margaret Sanger. All that stuff, all that eugenics, if you know anything about Margaret Sanger, she was a big believer in eugenics. All that eugenics came from Margaret Sanger. And Hitler and the Nazis used those processes to hurt the so-called Jewish man. When he had them, what was it, the little fake Holocaust? They used the processes that Margaret Sanger in eugenics, they used those same type experiments and processes on them. So let's keep reading. Medical apartheid and Nazi process being taken to court over these issues. So basically, so people started complaining. The medical facilities that was in charge of participating in these experiments were taken to court. Let's see. Okay, we got a sister that looked up apartheid, a policy or system of segregation, that's right, or discrimination of grounds of race. So medical apartheid. I know a lot of times you heard apartheid and you heard about that Nelson Mandela crap. That dude, for one, he was a Hamite. He didn't give a damn about nobody. He was selfish as hell. But when you didn't heard about apartheid, you hear about that. Nah, man. That ain't what apartheid is, okay? And when we're talking about a medical apartheid, just like this description, a policy or system of segregation or discrimination on grounds of race. So basically, they're using these medical experiments to basically do something like, perfect example is, like I said, Margaret Sanger, like J. Marion Sims. They're trying to destroy you, but in destroying you, they're trying to uplift their own nation. It's just another racist, segregated system. But they're destroying you in order to get cures for their own. That's the danger of this. Okay? Um, let's keep going. The claim was rejected and the experiment continued until the subjects at that time died and were and had to do an autopsy on them. So basically, when they put that claim in for them to stop doing these experiments, the court system knocked it down. They didn't even take it. They didn't even try to let that go to court. They knocked it down. So then when these brothers died, they died, and then they were able to do their autopsy. You think they're gonna go through all these experiments and not get your dead body and see what all happened to it? So they know how to beat this thing. So they know how to maybe use it for biological warfare, because the white man does that too. What you think the atomic bomb was? I'll show you the one of the first biological weapons you probably ain't even think about. What they do to our Native American brothers when Columbus came over here? Talking about treaties and all that mess. That was a lie. They would even do things like put chicken pox in their blankets. That's your first biological warfare right there. You cannot trust this white man. Okay? Uh, the press was notified in 1972 and the experiment ended. It took until 1972 for it to keep getting brung up and brung up and brung up, and they finally got rid of it. It was 4 decades after the experiment. 74 of the test subjects were still alive. Okay, after that whole process, 74 of them. Now we started at what, 400? Didn't I say 400? Yeah, we had 400 that went through this experiment. 200 were just, compared to. They didn't have the syphilis. 400 did. Listen to this. After 1972, 4 decades after the experiment, 74 of the test subjects were still alive. All them brothers, and those brothers had wives, and those wives had children. Those are families. So you got 300 and something, what, 326, something like that, died. So a white man can heal his own, so he can deal with the disease of his own people. This is sick, man. So now we got they died directly from syphilis. 100 were dead of related complications. 40 of their wives were infected, and their 19 children were born with congenital syphilis. That thing turned into a medical apartheid weapon to an experiment. Well, really an experiment to basically torture, to an examination to help your own nation, being a white man, to a biological weapon. Why I say that? Because it went from the man to the woman to the child. What you think abortion is? That's a white man's weapon. They didn't figure out how to not only kill you from birth, but from killing you and making money off of it. From the time that sister goes into that abortion clinic and gets the abortion to the time that the stem cell express comes in and pays for the body parts, to the time that the stem cells are used from the body parts in operations to heal people like Peyton Manning, they making money off the deaths of our children. That's a weapon. But one thing they can't stop is brotherhood, is sisterhood, because that's a weapon. But that's the weapon we're going to have to lean on in order to survive. Let's keep going. Got one more thing I wanted to cover. In 1961, Fannie Lou Hamer went to the doctor for a tumor removal, and a hysterectomy was done. I'm gonna read that again just to make sure you hear me. In 1961, Fannie Lou Hamer went to the doctor for a tumor removal. What's going on, brother? For a tumor removal, and a hysterectomy was done. 100,000 to 150,000 women have been sterilized in Alabama. Listen to that. 100,000 to 150,000 women have been sterilized in Alabama from ages 12 to 14 to 17 to 21 years old. These are what I'm telling you is just the different ways that white society has came up with to not only sterilize and stop the population of our nation, but also to inflict dominance, rulership, oppression upon us. Now, the Noor plant was introduced to young black women in December 1980 by the FDA. Now we talking about a federal regulation. They didn't went to the government. And if anybody, and this is another thing I want you to look up, it's called Noor plant, Norplant. In the 1980s, Noor plant was pushed around high schools with high populations of black sisters, and they and if they were especially high rates of pregnancy, all right, and they would push these Noor plants. Let's find out who was pushing it. In high school, by these Noor plants were being pushed in high schools by state representatives like David Duke, representative of Louisiana, a KKK Grand Wizard leader, rewarding $100 annually to get the sterilization experiment. It was attempted to be passed as a bill, but never made it. They have went so far to destroy us that they had a Klansman pushing a bill to push medication to kill us, to kill our babies that ain't even been born yet, to sterilize these sisters. You guys excuse me on YouTube, my power is low, so it might go out before I actually close the class. But this is most of the class, so if it does cut off, shalom. But these experiments have been used time and time again. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and close it. It's about to go out. I'm gonna go ahead and close the YouTube. All right. Shalom.